I'm wondering how I can support them. So maybe give me some tips to help me support them in trying to maybe plan their career or anything else in that realm that might maybe guide them a little bit, make them feel like they're being supported by me.
So talk to them about what it is that they like. What are their passions? What do they love to do? And if you talk about what they love to do, you can then figure out a career for it, right?
Hi guys, I'm Kim Pingaro, and welcome to the Atomic Mommy Podcast. This is your podcast to understand everything and anything about parenting life, where each week I speak to special guests and cover even the most taboo of parenting topics. Before we dive in, remember you can find and follow the Atomic Mommy Podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or you can visit my website to listen in at www.atomicmommy.net. Now, let's get to it. Welcome back to Atomic Mommy, and today's special episode, we're talking with Tonya Davis. She's worked in helping fields for 25 years. She recently retired from a nonprofit she lovingly helped build for 9 years due to an autoimmune disorder. Now she utilizes her passion for helping and supporting others to lead them on their road to prosperity. Her work ranges from previously being a therapist to working with students, businesses, parents, and teachers to create a workforce development ecosystem. She is eager to share her knowledge with others so they too can live a happy and healthy life while achieving their dreams. She recently became a published international best-selling co-author in the Rattled Awake Volume 4 anthology series on Amazon. There, she tells her story of how she left the traditional workforce to live a healthier life while still being of service to others. Tonya can be reached on the One-to-One Audio OWL app, that's OWWLL, using the code SMURF, SMURF, to receive a free consultation. You can also reach her on LinkedIn or at her website, PASS2pros.com. Hi, Tonya. Thank you so much for joining Atomic Mommy. I'm Kim, and I want to get to know what you're talking about. So today we're talking about helping parents support their children finding careers, right?
Yes, absolutely. There's so many things that parents can do. And one of the things that we found out in my previous work was that personal experience is the number one influential career factor. Now, mom and dad are 2 and 3. So parents are still important.
True.
And the parents are going to help them get those experiences. So job shadowing, internships, career fairs to get in touch with lots of different areas of study. It's so important so that they can explore and find their way.
Okay, so, this is a topic that I think a lot of parents don't think about when they first have their kids, but it's definitely something that we should be thinking about as early as giving birth. Do you agree with that?
I do. It's, you don't want to have a preset notion because you want your child to do what they love, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think to wonder and, speculate what might they love, like as they grow and you see their personalities develop, absolutely you can be thinking about those things. But just remembering that we want to support the child in what they are interested in, because if they're not interested, they're not going to be successful.
That's very true. That is a very true thing. So I have 2 teenagers. I have a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old, and one's about to go to college. So I'm wondering how I can support them. So maybe give me some tips to help me support them in trying to maybe plan their career or anything else in that realm that might maybe guide them a little bit, make them feel like they're being supported by me.
So talk to them about what it is that they like. What are their passions? What do they love to do? And if you talk about what they love to do, you can then figure out a career for it, right? And then you can figure out the training that's needed. And I may get some pushback on this a little bit, but you don't have to have a college degree to get a really good paying job.
No, that's very true. Actually, I don't give you any pushback on that at all. A lot of parents think that college is the only path to success. And I think in these times, especially because of the technology level that we're at in this economy, in this society, I think that we have the ability to do so much more without college. And I feel like I'm going to get pushed back on that too. But how did you come to that determination?
The work that I did, I worked 9 years with a nonprofit. We built it from the ground up. It was a grassroots organization, and I loved what I did. And at peak time, I would do 300 job shadowing placements a year.
Wow.
And that was one program. And the kids came to me with a request. I did everything from landscaping to nuclear engineering.
Wow.
So whatever it was that they were interested in, we got them either in that environment or at least connected to someone in that environment, because they have preconceived notions of what a job is. And a lot of the times they're incorrect. So we want them to make an informed decision. So if you're getting them in contact with people in the field, they can find out what education do they need? Do they need a certification? Do they need a degree? Do they need with like the electricians and the apprenticeship? Do they need an apprenticeship to accomplish what they want to do? And so when you connect them to what they love, that's where the magic happens. That's when they get excited.
It's funny that you talk about connecting them with what they love, because I feel like with all the schooling that they go through their whole lives, it's almost like you have to help them unschool a little bit so that they can learn what to focus on that they do love. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. A lot of the career development programs have gone away.
Yeah, that's true.
We started in Southeast Ohio. We started with one anchor school. By the time I left, we had all 7 districts on board and an 8th district across the river in West Virginia. But it took years for that to happen. So, the career stuff isn't in the schools a lot of times. And so now it's even more important for the parents to stay involved and help support their kids. So we would have a Family Career Awareness Day where the parents came in the evening with their kids and heard the information so that the parents could then support them and help them get to where they needed to go.
I find it very difficult to understand why the schools stopped offering some type of career development. I find it for my teenagers like they have it under the guise of other topics, not really necessarily career development itself. But then you have, you run the risk of them learning a specific set of skills, but not necessarily any skills towards developing a career out of the things that they learn. So is there something that teenagers specifically, because that's really those years that matter for them to get into their careers, right? So what should they be, Googling for trying to figure out career development? Like, do they do it online? Is it better to go in person? Do you know what I'm saying?
So they need to learn the key skill of networking. That is above all what they need to learn. And the importance of building positive relationships, right? We don't want them to end up negative. We want them to make a good impression. But learning about what it is that they love, finding people in those fields and connecting with them, because they will get invaluable information from those interactions. And then they can decide, is this something that I really want to do? Do I really want to pursue this? And then they can look at internships, getting experience to even further solidify or help them figure out that they don't want to do it. So that personal experience and the networking is key above all else.
So how does a teenager who's in high school go about finding networking opportunities specifically that allow teenagers to go to?
So if they have a specific interest, like in the area, you find a business that does that, and maybe with a little help from the parents, because the teenagers don't necessarily know how to interact with the businesses, right?
True.
So they need to learn those skills of, when you walk in and you meet someone, you shake their hand, you make eye contact, you smile, you're on time for a meeting. Those types of things they need to learn, and the parents can help support them. But and the parents can come in too, and if they know people, like a lot of times it's, so-and-so's dad does that. Let's get them connected. So the parents are networking too to help get their students those contacts.
That's very true. It's funny that we're talking about this now. Literally last night, my daughters asked me to help them find babysitting jobs because they're having a hard time finding jobs at the local malls and the local stores. They're not really hiring right now. So I said, okay, let me reach out to my mom network and see who needs, babysitters. And they were asking me, well, how do you have a mom network? And how did that happen? And it's so funny that we're talking about this now, because I'm realizing that even for myself, that there's still some time left to teach them where to find the networking abilities and availabilities. So I think it's great that we're talking about this now, because I feel like a lot of parents sort of, overthink it or maybe underthink it. And then they sort of glaze over like, okay, I don't know what to do now. You know what I mean? Like,
It's
so
overwhelming. It can be overwhelming.
it is. I mean, I have 4 daughters, so it's definitely overwhelming for me. But I can imagine, because my older are, they're like I said, 17 and 16. So I get overwhelmed just thinking about, now they're going to enter the workforce. How do I help them? What are some tips that you would give parents like myself who don't really know where to start?
Well, you can always talk with someone like me. And I can help guide you through that. So I'm actually on an app called the OWL app. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No.
It's a one-to-one audio networking app. And so you make calls, like a phone call, but your personal information isn't given out. So one of the things that I can do on there is parents can call me. And when they download the app, they get $10 free just to try it out.
Oh, that's cool.
And then, so the people that are receiving the calls get paid. But parents can call, we can discuss things, and we can set up if people want to have a consultation. It helps to have that guidance if you don't have the support in the school. So just talking with someone and the parents having that support too
Yeah.
is important. So
Yeah,
finding someone who's willing to help you and guide you through, especially if, like, I was a first generation college student. My parents knew nothing about college. Luckily, I had a friend whose parents were a teacher and a principal. So she really helped me. They really helped. So just developing that support system and being involved with other parents and kind of going through it together as well helps.
I think what you're saying is really important. I'm going to say that first, because, you said you're a first generation college graduate, right? And that you didn't really have that level of support you needed from your parents, even though it's really not their fault. It's just that you needed that support from somebody, from somewhere. And the fact that you had a friend do that is amazing. So with kids, with young teenagers, they need that level of support too. And sometimes they just don't even have friends to look for it. So like you said, you're on that app and parents can contact you. Now, can they contact you from any state to sort of help their kids find that help?
Yes, all they have to do is download the app. It's countrywide, even in Canada, and so they can call, and we can the calls are in 10-minute increments, but we can always extend the time. And if they message me on one of my social media sites, and I know that they're going to call me, I'll drop my price down to $1. So
that's awesome.
So that they can get the most use out of their $10 for free to try it out and see if they would like to work with me further.
Wow, that's amazing. That's pretty awesome. So thank you for offering that, because I'm sure plenty of parents are going to want to reach out. I'm probably going to look it up myself. So
OWWLL. It's 2 W's and 2 L's.
It's OWWLL?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing you said that. I was totally going to ask you. And it's on both Apple and Android, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So tell me more about what it is that students can be doing, like, while at school. Like, should they be asking their guidance counselors or their principals for certain information? Maybe even trying to implement something in their school for career development? Like, how do they go about doing that thing?
So many schools will have codes in there for their classes that they can actually put into their schedule, like when they're seniors, possibly even juniors, but mainly seniors, their senior year, that they can put internships into their schedule and they can go off site and work that they're interested in and still get full credit.
Oh, so they do offer that. Okay, that was a good one, because I was going to ask that question too. So
if possible, I know in Ohio and West Virginia, we would have to explore in other states how it could be done, but I know we've done it in Ohio and West Virginia.
So now, is that something that you can help students do and guide them towards doing in their school in their respective states?
Yeah, I can work with their guidance counselors to figure out, the codes to use and how we can work that into their schedule and things like that. So yeah, I can do that.
Okay. That's really helpful because not many people have that ability or even have that option, because I know it's hard here. If I call the school, they automatically think, oh, why is this parent calling? Is there an issue? You know what I'm saying? They're not thinking like
positive things, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's helpful to know that. Now, I want to ask you this other question. It's about resumes, because my daughter recently asked about it and I wasn't sure how to go about it because they're so young and they don't have much experience. So I was going to Google, what do I put on a teenager's resume? So is that something that you help with? And do you have some type of tips to offer for that?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that you always tell the students, if they are doing anything on a regular basis, if they are babysitting, if they are mowing lawns, those are things that you can put on a resume. And if they're doing a good job, they can use those people as references because they need references for a resume. The clubs that they're in, the any type of community endeavors that they're involved in, those are all things that they can be putting on their resume because they don't have all the life experience yet, right?
True.
But, colleges especially want to see community engagement. So they really need to be building up their resumes now and getting into the habit of, or if they get a certification, let's say they have a CPR certification, maybe for babysitting, they need to put that CPR certification on their resume. So it's things that they don't think about. So we can brainstorm and help them come up with things to put on the resume as well.
So let me ask you this question. How early should a teenager start their resume building? It's a good question.
We would have students do them in 10th grade. And some schools will even have them start in middle school. So the class that we had, it was a career search class in our anchor school, and they would do a resume. We would have them fill out job applications because they don't understand that if something doesn't apply, you're supposed to put NA, if they're not applicable. They don't understand. They don't know those things. They haven't been taught those things a lot of times. So, kind of for me, the earlier the better. Just so that they get the practice and doing mock interviews as well. So important so that when they get into an interview situation, they kind of have an idea of what it's going to be like. So they're not like a deer in headlights.
So you said mock interview. That's a really good tip. A mock interview. How does a parent even go about having that conversation with their teenager? Like, how do you set that up?
Well, you say, this is how you get a job. You do a resume. This is the process. And then you go in and they ask you questions to see if you're a good fit. Now, the one thing that I like to teach the youth now and the parents is that not only is that company interviewing you, you're interviewing that company to see if it's a place that you want to work. So having the questions, researching the company beforehand to know what they do so that you can ask questions to make sure it's an environment that you want to be in as well. So it goes both ways. And if you're researching and you ask them questions about their company, if you say, oh, I noticed this on your website, then they know that you have taken the time to research their company and that you're really interested. So it's a way to kind of engage them as well.
It's funny that you say that because I remember being a teenager, getting my first job, and just being so excited to get hired that I didn't even bother to ask any questions at all. And I remember them saying, "Do you have any questions?" I'm like, "No." and then I started working there, and I hated it. I hated the environment, and I left. I quit after 2 weeks, and I couldn't understand why I felt that way. And it took me a long time to get there. Obviously, in my after life experience, it taught me, you ask questions, right? But being a teenager, you're in awe that you're even in the room with them. And then you feel so inferior sometimes that you don't even really think to ask questions.
You feel intimidated.
Yeah.
I do this with adults. I have people that call me on the OWL app to do mock interviews, and they are 50 years old.
It's important. I think it's great that you're doing that because I can tell you right now, if I went to interview for another job tomorrow, that I would be sweating. I would have nervousness. I would be in a weird mood. I wouldn't know if I'm happy or frustrated or stressed, and not even going into the meeting yet. So I think what you're doing is amazing. I think it's so important, and especially for teenagers, even as young as 7th and 8th grade, to sort of get a grasp and a handle of it before they do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's great that you offer that. So run me through like what it is that you're specifically offering for parents, as far as, what we can call you for or hit you up on the app and say, hey, I need your help with, and the different programs you offer to parents for their kids or even for themselves.
So the main thing that I offer is support because as parents, we all need support.
That's true.
And so basically what I do is I kind of meet people where they are. And so if they need the information just to start even thinking about it, then we can have those conversations. Or we can work on finding the resources for their kids to go into that environment and see what it's like. So resume review or helping them with resumes, helping them do the mock interviews so that they get used to talking with someone, because sometimes they're going to have to do phone interviews. You're not going to have that face-to-face.
That's
so
true.
any experience that they can get is all going to be a learning experience. And you want them learning while they're young so that they can get feedback and take that feedback into the next experience when they're older. So basically, whatever it is that they need, we figure it out and we come up with a plan. So it's individualized to each person.
You had me thinking about how long it takes to do this, because a lot of parents are all about time management and, we're always busy and whatnot. And then the kids with their extracurricular stuff sometimes gets in the way. So let's ask, I'm going to ask you this. So from start to finish, on average, because I know everybody's different, what would you say is like the length of time you talk to parents, and how long it takes to go from the start of, say, working with you to the time that they feel comfortable to do things on their own?
Well, it really depends on the parents and the student, how fast they are jumping on what we're talking about doing. I have a family that I have worked with actually for years. We just found out that one of the sons got into the physical assistant program, physician's assistant program at the college, and that was his goal. And so I worked with them for years. So they still contact me, when something's going on, and so I got to go to his graduation. And so for me, it's about developing that personal relationship so that I can offer whatever support is needed. So maybe it's just a few weeks. Maybe you just need a little bit of help, or you just need some resume review or some mock interview skills, and then we're done. Or maybe you need some more in-depth help. So it really just depends on where each person is in their journey. So I know that's not a succinct answer for you, but
it's actually a really good answer, because it tells me that you're willing to work with them and build this relationship with them no matter what's happening. So it doesn't have to just be a one-time, or a 1-week thing. It could go on for years. And that's a good thing to know, because a lot of parents sometimes struggle with finding that support even later on down the road. And a lot of kids do need it. They grow up to be young adults and they still need the help. So I think it's great that you said that. So now tell me about how I find you, how I contact you, what website you have, and everything that anyone needs to really reach out to you, because I don't want you getting messages at 2:00 in the morning, but let's be serious. Parents only have time between like 9:00 at night, like midnight.
Oh, I understand. Believe me. So you can find me. I'm on the OWL app under Tonya Davis. You can find me on LinkedIn under Tonya Davis.
Okay.
My website is www.PASS2PROS.com. So it's short for Passion to Prosperity. So my passion for helping support people, leading them on their road to prosperity, whether that be health, wealth, whatever it may be. So that's where you can find me there. And then if they want to email me, they can email me at Davis, T as in Tom, Davis at PASS2PROS.com.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And I just want to tell you, I love what you're doing. And I want you to keep going because it's so important what you do. Not everybody knows that even exists, or even someone like you exists out there. So I think it's really important for all of the parents out there to hear what you have to say. So thank you very much for joining me on today's episode. And I am very excited to have met you, and I hope we continue to work together in the future.
I would love that. And thank you so much for the opportunity for me to come on and let people know that I'm out there, because I really do just want to help. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And yeah, let's keep in touch and let's keep moving forward. And we can talk about how we can help your kids too.
Oh, I have lots of them for you to help. Thanks, guys. That's it for today's episode. I hope you're leaving with some great things to help you along on your parenting journeys. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you can be notified of when new episodes are published. Don't forget to rate and review this podcast and share it with all of your friends. And if you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram at atomic_mommy. Until next time.